This week's episode of Capital City Sports features football against Furman. Women's soccer and volleyball are both in action as well. As I said last week, we promised you more sports, and more sports we have here on this week's episode of CCS. And welcome to this week's episode of Capital City Sports. This past Saturday, the South Carolina Gamecocks took on Furman University. Nick Jones was at Williams-Brice Stadium, and he'll tell us if the South Carolina Gamecocks could break their two-game losing streak.
It's homecoming weekend here in Columbia, and the South Carolina Gamecocks took on the Furman Paladins here at Williams-Brice Stadium. The Gamecocks have lost the last two games, and after a bye week, they hope to get back on track for the second half of the season. Will the Gamecocks beat the Furman Paladins? Let's take it to the highlight.
South Carolina and Furman face off at Williams-Brice Stadium for their 49th meeting on the gridiron. On the Gamecocks' first drive, Dylan Thompson would find Farrah Cooper across the middle for a 26-yard reception and sets up the Gamecocks at the Furman 1-yard line. Thompson lines up in shotgun and slings it over to Shaq Rowland in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. After an Elliott Fry extra point, the score is Gamecock 7, Furman nothing. On Furman's next possession, Hank McLeod would find the ball in his hands and goes outside the right tackle and takes it 60 yards to the end zone untouched for the score, and the game is tied at 7. Carolina would respond with a drive of their own with a great run by Sean Carson, who sets up the Gamecocks up at the 5-yard line. On the next play, South Carolina would stick with the run game and hand the ball off to Mike Davis, who paves his own way into the end zone and makes the score 14-7. On the Gamecocks' next drive, Thompson looks to be sacked but fumbles the ball, and it is recovered by Furman at the Carolina 26-yard line. Hoping to take advantage of the turnover, Furman hands the ball off to McLeod, but he fumbles and Michael Washington recovers for the Gamecocks. Now in the second quarter, South Carolina sticks with the pass game, and Thompson throws it down the left sideline to Jarrell Adams for a 45-yard touchdown, and the Gamecocks are up 21-7. This would be Thompson's second touchdown of the day. Furman gets the ball and drives down the field to set up for a 33-yard field goal, but Hunter Towns kicks it wide right, and the Gamecocks still lead 21-7. Headed into the second half after a Furman field goal, Sean Carson gets the handoff and takes it for a huge gain for 56 yards and dives towards the end zone, but is short at the 1-yard line. Next play, Carson gets the call again and takes it in for the score, and the Gamecocks are now up 35-10. Furman starts their next possession on their 25-yard line, and Tanner Scogan throws it into coverage, and Chris Moody would pick it off and return it for 26 yards to the Furman 36. The Gamecocks defense would collect 3 turnovers for the game. South Carolina would go the rest of the game tacking on 2 field goals, and South Carolina wins the game 41-10. Now let's head to the press conference for the head ball coach's take on the game.
Okay, it was a good win for the Gamecocks. I know it wasn't real pretty all the time, but when you hadn't won in about a month, feels good to win a ball game. Told our guys to enjoy it, and we'll start getting ready for Auburn on Monday. Yeah, we're getting thin on defensive linemen. Michael Washington, walk-on kid, came back from the Army. I think played about the whole game out there. And Mason Harris was hurt. He could be back next week. But, yeah, we're a little beat up on the D-line. But I thought they played pretty well.
At the end of this game, Davis and Williams would collect 100 yards each rushing, and that's the first time in South Carolina history that the Gamecocks had 2 rushers with over 100 yards. We will be over at Auburn next weekend. For all your coverage for Capital City Sports, I'm Nick Jones.
The South Carolina volleyball team is probably one of the most improved teams here at South Carolina. They have won 13 games, when last year they won only 12 games in the entire season. However, they would be challenged against Florida this past Wednesday. Florida was coming into the game undefeated, so let's go to Caitlin Riley at the Volleyball Center to see if the Gamecocks could pull off the upset.
In the first midweek match of the season, USC will take on the number 8 Florida Gators. Carolina is 13-4 for the season and 2-1 in conference play. The Lady Gamecocks hope to give the Florida Gators their first conference loss tonight. Let's take it to the highlight. The Lady Gamecocks started off strong against the Gators with this hit by Dozier, but USC had a hard time handling Florida's 6'4" lead hitter. Coco Williams gets the point for the Gamecocks, leading the Gators 18-16. The Lady Gamecocks win the first set 19-25 with this hard hit by McNeil. The Gators' serving game was weak in the second set, having 6 missed serves, but even with the errors, serving becomes a problem for USC, losing the match 18-25 with a service error. The Lady Gamecocks had a bad start in the third set, having to call a timeout, losing 9-3. Dozier comes out strong after the timeout with this spike, trying to bring the momentum up. But with Florida's powerful hits at the net, the Gamecocks couldn't hang on, losing the third set 13-25. It was back-to-back scoring in the fourth, but an attack error by the Gators brought the Gamecocks up 10-7. Coco Williams had a huge block for USC, but the Gamecocks couldn't hang on, losing 19-25. The Lady Gamecocks couldn't handle the number 8 Gators, losing the match 4-1. With the loss to Florida, USC becomes 3-3 in conference play. Next week, Carolina travels to Coastal Carolina and plays Mississippi State and Missouri at home. I'm Caitlin Riley with Capital City Sports.
The women's soccer team, however, was able to defeat the Florida Gators this past Thursday 3-2. The women's soccer team also played against Ole Miss this past Sunday. Let's head out to Stone Stadium to see what happened.
Sunday afternoon at the Graveyard hosted another SEC matchup for the South Carolina women's soccer team. Today they took on the Ole Miss Rebels. Now South Carolina is coming into this match at 3-3-1 in conference play, and the Rebels aren't far behind at 2-2-3. And both teams will be making a push towards the SEC tournament in November.
A 7th home victory was on the line for the Gamecocks, and they wasted no time in taking the lead. After Lindsay Lane's goal in the second minute, Andy Romness took a penalty kick and beat Rebel keeper Kelly McCormick left to give South Carolina a 2-goal advantage. And the pressure would not stop there, as Bay Daniels sidesteps McCormick, but her shot barely goes wide. After an aggressive back-and-forth match, Ole Miss had one final corner to make something happen, but the threat was cleared by the Gamecocks. Freshman keeper Abby Crater preserved the shutout after Sabrina D'Angelo exited due to injury in the 35th minute, and the Gamecocks hold on to defeat Ole Miss for their 11th win of the season.
The ladies will look to make it a 3-game win streak as they head to Nashville to take on the Vanderbilt Commodores this Friday. Reporting from Stone Stadium, I'm John Dowdy, Capital City Sports.
And that is it for us tonight here on Capital City Sports. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, you can like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at CCS on SGTV. From all of us here at Capital City Sports, from SGTV Studios, I'm Jeremy Urso, signing off.